any better. That is, of course, these two teams meeting in the semi-final. You couldn't have had it any other way. The two teams with so much history between each other. Now, two teams enter, but only one will walk away.
And naturally, we get that Widow mirror. And what a good one this is going to be. This is one of the absolute treats. This is also one of the places where Blank have traditionally been an incredibly strong team, but I have to say, Mui's Widowmaker is nothing to shy away from. This is a devastating pick.
Both equally disgusting in their own right, and just look at the early positioning. Neither team really wants to, neither team are going too aggressive just yet, but Eat Up went very far back.
Yeah, it's not sure what happened there. I was looking to get a bit of a funky flank. It did buy Blank some time to get on the point, but this is functionally a 5 versus 6 here for Blank. They're going to need to get an early pick to really equalize this one. IEDUp does at least get to play from quite a bit of range, so if he can still get a pick in this instance, then they could be in business. But of course, Mui has been able to get set up first, so he should have the domination of those sidelines here.
But still though, Hong Kong Attitude struggling to actually break into the point itself. Blank is stacking really hard as a 5-man unit, allowing EatYou Up to come back into the point as well. And as the points opened up, percentage is ticking up, but only for Blank.
Yeah, and it's also given Tung time to get this Coalescence. That's a big advantage. They do lose Kura though early in the fight, so the Coalescence not quite giving them the legs they need. EatYou Up as well, down to the dive. This Primal Rage from Ating is doing so much work of just separating Blank, disrupting their positioning, and the remainder of Blank recognize this point is going to go the way of Hong Kong Attitude. They just need to get out.
And now the timer does tick up just slightly further for Blank Esports. You'll notice there's a soft timer in the game in terms of how quickly Hong Kong Attitude need to act, and in fact, for how quickly Blank Esports need to act as well, because they have Huss onto the Sombra. Had the EMP come up, but unfortunately, much like we've seen Apudo in a lot of cases, Mega versus Detonator Korea, members weren't there to capitalize for the EMP, so doesn't get used. Has to save it for the following fight, and this is going to be an important one for Blank.
Yeah, looking to make the same play twice here. Hong Kong Attitude setting up really far forward to try and catch someone on the back line before coming in for the fight. This time, yeah, Blank are more ready for it, and they had that EMP. So like you said, hit a lot. If they can pop Shaolin before he can self-destruct, that would be great, but they might not even need to at this rate. Look at the pressure at McCulty. Already had the numbers advantage. CQB not in a great position to use the sound barrier. Right-click hacked out as well by Huss, so definitely couldn't commit that. And that's the point, going back the way of Blank.
And so quickly as well, Hong Kong Attitude only got 31% there on the objective percentage. Not quite enough to put them on equal standing with Blank Esports, who now themselves climbing up more than halfway, putting a lot of pressure on the Hong Kong Attitude side. If Hong Kong Attitude win, or rather lose one more fight here, it's going to go into overtime for Blank Esports, then they're probably going to win.
EatYou Up for the first time on Ruins here, finally able to be set up. Has so far been very pressured out, and that means he gets an infra sight off. They've spotted out all of Hong Kong Attitude on this set up, trying to just sort of catch them as they make the maneuver out. Hasn't quite got the conversion just yet. Sound barrier from CQB, good timing on that one, but hacked out by Huss once again to cancel that. Yeah, that's really unfortunate. Well, I mean, it's the grand hack, isn't it? It's the everyone hack, and off the back of that, the fight's starting to landslide the way of Blank. Potentially the final fight here as well. No return kills out of Shaolin self-destructed. It's looking like that 31% will be all that Hong Kong Attitude get here. Interesting set plays at certain junctures, but Blank learning, adapting, not letting Hong Kong Attitude pull the same trick twice. And that does mean they're going to open up the first point at Ilios.
Should happen at some point, but it is also Hong Kong Attitude coming back in. In fact, they have ultimate Primal use, Coalescence use. If Blank don't clean up kills here, it's going to be a counter cap.
That being said, Hong Kong Attitude aren't exactly cleaning up kills in their own right. This has given them a bit of a second wind, but it's not enough to blow Blank over there. Too set up, too sturdy on this point. There was a brief window there, a brief moment, but Blank still had ultimates of their own that they hadn't had to commit. Overtime, vanishing in the blink of an eye. That's that point at Ilios there. Well earned from Blank.
I gotta say, it's that soft timer of Huss on the EMP with the Sombra as well at the end of the day that makes such a big difference. Looking at the first time the EMP was used, now it wasn't used upon receiving the EMP. They did have to wait till the following fight for Huss to come back in, for the rest of the team to regroup to then use that EMP, but when it was used to such great effect, that's what gave Blank such great results in the following fight as well, countering out the sound barrier from CQB after Kura had used his own sound barrier to put a lot of pressure on the Hong Kong Attitude side to say, if you want to contest with us, you better use something to come back in here. When you do, instant EMP response, that's no sound barrier for you.
I think they almost weren't expecting it to be up so quickly, but at any rate, Hong Kong Attitude No, hold on. This is different. They had a Sombra earlier, and I thought they were going to be just looking to match, but no, Doomfist. This could take Blank by surprise. Yeah, did miss that first punch, but the dive is still looking good. Trill pressured low as Hong Kong Attitude pulled back for a moment. Having made a little bit of mileage, getting the wraparound now, still looking for that opening pick. Re-diving in, Mui, as Ronald goes down. Good follow-up by Huwu, and that does put Hong Kong Attitude into full retreat. Just that one pick, a team going to get picked off as well on that retreat. This will be the point going the way of Blank.
And I do have to emphasize, missing that first punch is so crucial because you need the surprise factor. This is how Bello from One China has had such great success on Doomfist, is because the opponents do not see it coming, and when they do, it is too late for Hong Kong Attitude. Huss also being on the Sombra is a hard counter to Mui, who himself now has to play a Sombra.
And unfortunate that he's had to change onto it because he's now playing that ultimate catch-up. Huss is already going to be coming up on an EMP here, which means by the time Hong Kong Attitude are finally ready to take a fight of their own, Blank are going to have ultimates here to defend. This is going to be a lot of progress that Blank get on this point before Hong Kong Attitude can really get a window in, unless they just get a big early pick. But the dive already red, already cut off as it goes in, and that's going to be Blank on the hold. They're not even having to use the EMP in that fight.
Yeah, you get to be conservative here when you know you've already won that fight. You know you've won it when you get 2 kills so early on. No real abilities used. It's coalescence at the end to secure things. Make sure there's no possibility for Hong Kong Attitude to re-enter the fight. Make sure that none of your own teammates on the Blank side are going to go down, so you have to wait for respawns. And now is the time for us to set up an EMP.
Yeah, you can see he's looking for the angle, looking to spot out Hong Kong Attitude. 2 groups, he's found it. Straight on in though, he does go down, pressured out. Hong Kong Attitude able to kind of bait him in, draw him into that one. Now needing to get tongue here. They will get him on the counter dive. Self-destruct from Shaolin as well, preserves the mech. They have a numbers advantage, but Trill getting some bumps about here. This is going to slow Hong Kong Attitude down. I think he might know it.
Carroll might have to barrier.
This, yeah, he's definitely going to have to barrier. Huwu gets to self-destruct, but he can't barrier. No, actually, no, he was able to stay out of that EMP. Nice timing on that. Hong Kong Attitude answering with one of their own. They haven't got the counter trades just yet. The point is still in favor of Blank, and they're actually still getting the kills here as well. Just barely. They've really been fleeced for every ultimate they had, but it has proven to be exactly enough to hold the point. We're at 97. I don't think Hong Kong Attitude can do this.
They don't have enough members. Tongue with the coalescence as well. This might be a victory coalescence. Where are the rest of Hong Kong Attitude? It's just McCulty. He's trying so hard, but he might not have it.
And without the Winston, without a Ting, they lose so much that stall time. It's not like they've got like a Primal Rage or a Self-Destruct or anything. Trill, though, bumped off the edge. That's a crucial pick. That delays, or sorry, ruins Blank's ability to stall out in their own right, but Blank still rotating into
nearly an EMP
to close out the fight. Yeah, nearly EMP. Not even gonna need it. They could have used that. They could have used a Self-Destruct to just zone people off. They needed neither, and that's a shutout on Windmill to take Ilios.
100-0. Yeah, Windmill. It's technically a lighthouse, but also
it's a windmill.
Yeah, it gets to be a windmill.
No, wait, that one is a lighthouse. It's the one on Well that's a windmill.
They're kind of both windmilly-ish. Either way. Lighthouse, 100-0.
Either way, Blank won.
That's
they
true.
don't care what kind of architecture is there.
You take that, you take your windmill, take the 2-0, which is exactly what Blank get to walk away with. Now, we did see a little bit of adaptation from Hong Kong Attitude. Adaptation isn't always a positive thing when you consider adaptation in this matter for Hong Kong Attitude was try the Doomfist, but the problem is if you don't get that opening pick, you don't get that burst of damage from that first punch onto a member that you can then clean up into a player advantage, really utilize the fact that the other team doesn't expect a Doomfist, you're not going to find a lot of success. Mui's second attempt to jump in with the Doomfist in the same fight, instantly punished, went down so quick.
And I am a little bit worried here for Hong Kong Attitude. On Ruins, they had this interesting kind of set play strategy with, you know, with how they set up and then waiting for Blank to kind of go past them before getting a pick on IEDU up, so they had a numbers advantage, but A, took them a very long time to convert that numbers advantage into any kind of successful fight. And actually the first fight immediately after didn't really go very well. In the end, these kind of tricky set plays and trying to take Blank by surprise only bought them 31% on what was still a lost map. And then we saw a similar thing, this Doomfist pocket strategy again, having this kind of surprise factor set play not paying off for Hong Kong Attitude. I want to see them go back to what's been working. Don't try and take Blank by surprise here. Just play what game has been good. play the game that got you to this semi-final.
And let's not also forget here Blank's composure, the fact that they just look so calm even in the mix of things. Hollywood, the next map, by the way, consider that when Hong Kong Attitude do make a little bit of a funny play, see the Doomfist, see them try and make those wraparound plays onto Ruins as well, even when Blank with 5 versus 6, collect that early cap, get that percentage going, come back in, roll the EMPs out. The EMP and Huss on the Sombra specifically is such a good tool for Blank to be able to snowball those fights, and that's exactly what's been going on.
I'm curious to see how both of these teams play Hollywood. And the reason I'm curious is I want to revisit this notion of Hong Kong Attitude just playing the game that has worked for them so far, because we actually saw them on Hollywood in their quarterfinal with one of the most aggressive defenses we've ever seen, and it was incredible. It worked to such great effect. I want to see it again. But what we've also seen out of Blank is this kind of revisiting of a Bastion, a Torbjorn strategy, specifically with Torbjorn Orisa, pulled out on Horizon Lunar Colony, but there was also a time where it was used on Hollywood. So I feel like both of these things are things these teams could do, but also neither are guaranteed.
Right now, what's been working fantastic for Blank, and sort of going back to saying what works for Hong Kong Attitude, what kind of style do they need to go back to? Playing that aggressive style with the dive heroes is certainly something they're good at, but when you look at Blank Esports now heading into the early stages, especially on A, looking at Huss playing the Sombra has also been super effective for this team. Now, still deciding exactly what this defense looks like. It's going to be the Orisa Hog junk start.
Yeah. So that does mean they're not going to pull out the Torbjorn, but they're pulling a similar thing, sort of in theory. It's still that same kind of like shield comp spam damage with the pick potential out of the Roadhog. So similar thing in theory, and this is definitely something Hong Kong Attitude can be prepared for. This is something they can have done their research on. So I want to see Hong Kong Attitude aggressive on the dive here.
And they're going to need to try to be, but the other thing to be considerate of is you need to find the right flanks against this kind of composition Blank are running. If you just dive head on, that's not going to work for you. Running into Junkrat spam, not going to work for you. Running into a Hog with a hook, Orisa with a Fortify, not going to work with you. You have to be clever about how you approach this dive for Hong Kong Attitude.
Yeah, and I mean, that's to say nothing of Junkrat traps, of Halt from Orisa, of concussion mines. There's a lot of tools here that disrupt the dive from Hong Kong Attitude, but this ain't their first rodeo. They've definitely played against this defense before, so they've now definitely read it. They know there's a Junkrat. They know what they're dealing with, and you can already see starting to set up so they can wrap around the side.
And the rotation becomes really important as well. Note Huss's damage here. Note his ult charge, whether he's playing Sombra or onto the Junkrat. His ultimate charge is very important here because it dictates exactly how Blank are going to be playing this defense, and certainly how Hong Kong Attitude need to approach this offense. What do you have to play around? When is the tire coming out?
And there's the dive. CQB, though, is the first casualty, just catching one grenade too many. They need to get that conversion on Huss here. But Trill is kind of keeping that restaurant on lockdown. Hong Kong Attitude a little bit separated out here. Can't stay in this one too long without getting picks, especially with all this disruption. That's a good one, though. Catching Trill, taking him out of the picture, also puts a lot of charge in the pocket of Mui for the EMP. Res onto Trill is good, but CQB's been able to re-enter, and Blank aren't as set up as they were at the top of this fight, where now the numbers are effectively reset. Still no pick either way.
Tire.
Riptire. This could be the big one. Looking for oh, wow, 2 supports. That's it for Hong Kong Attitude. Nearly had that EMP, too.
And that would have been really important if they could dodge the tire, then play with the EMP. That's how Hong Kong Attitude could have been able to win that. Note that so far for Blank Esports, losing Trill off the back of that last engagement, not a very good thing. Thankfully, Kura didn't have an unused resurrection there to bring it back to life. Hulu also so far hasn't landed any hooks. 2 missed hooks so far. Doesn't give Blank Esports some good kills.
There's that EMP, though, that they weren't able to use last fight, plus a sick Bionade onto Trill. He's instantly out of the fight. Nano boost onto Shilan so he can route out this back line. Gonna be looking to get
no res.
Well, yeah, no res, no problem there for Hong Kong Attitude. And that was the thing, like, those are the ultimates they'd banked up. The previous fight was kind of a race between getting to Riptire and getting to EMP, but losing that race wasn't the end of the world for Hong Kong Attitude.
You can see there as well, Blank Esports just not quite ready for the EMP to come out. Hong Kong Attitude knew they had an advantage. They knew the EMP was going to be the winning tool there. They caught Blank with their pants down. Blank just waiting on the point. Blank were not able to disengage back inside the cafe. That would have been a much safer space for them to play with, but that didn't happen.
And now they still have ultimates at their disposal. That's a decent hack onto Mui, though. Huss getting that right click. That's going to disrupt Hong Kong Attitude a decent bit. Blank know it. They want to go aggressive. They want to try and push this numbers advantage. Hong Kong Attitude just pulling back for now. This is time that they don't really get on the payload. It's time that Blank can spend setting up.
And killing Mui as well is going to give Huss some time to build up his own EMP. Very important for catching up and potentially even overtaking your opposing Sombra for Blank Esports. Playing aggressively right now is going to force ults out of Hong Kong Attitude, and that's a good thing for Blank.
Yeah, there's the engage, the sound barrier in. It does mean that AEU Up's Pulse Bomb gets a little bit absorbed, but they're getting the kills. More importantly, expensive for Hong Kong Attitude. They've really had to throw a lot into this fight, but they will get the payload moving.
And that's so important for Blank Esports now, coming up to an EMP. Huss already overtaking Mui, and that's going to be a big one for Blank Esports when this re-engagement does come in. The slight stall just to make sure the cart doesn't get good distance, and Hong Kong Attitude now need to set up for this higher ground play. If they can get another dive as Blank are coming up, they can shut down specifically Huss. That's a big deal for Mui.
That's a really important defense matrix in spotting out Mui. It means he doesn't get that last 20% of ult charge. It means that Huss should be able to still get that first EMP here. Oh, doesn't even need it. Mango's already down. AEU Up's just popping off on this backline. Mui as well going down. I mean, that is so classic Blank, isn't it? You can talk all you like about the ultimate advantages in the macro game and the numbers, but when it comes down to it, man, sometimes these players just get a 2K.
And Mango Jai doesn't even get to finish the script on that opening voice line for the Coalescence, instantly goes down. Mui as well goes down to 99%. Now comes EMP for Huss, the first one of this engagement.
And that's already an absolute whitewash here in favor of Blank. They're looking to pick out a Ting as well. May even want to stagger out Shaolin. No better than to go too deep, though. They're just going to back off. And this means they get to regain all that ground that they had lost in that previous fight earlier.
Now, there's two ways you could approach that fight. One is to use the EMP, or the other is to use everything else. I'm a big fan of using everything else first and using the EMP later to recharge. But for Blank Esports, a win's a win right now. They need to get these fight wins.
And this does put the pressure on Hong Kong Attitude to find a good angle for this EMP. It's easier said than done. Yeah, going to get in. They do get Tongue. We need to see the counter dive coming out here of Blank. They did get a sound barrier off. Huwu's going to have to commit a self-destruct here. Lucky he did not get caught in that EMP, and it converts. It's 2 for 2 so far. Huss low. AEU Up has to pop that recall as well to stay in the fight. They're going to get the self-destruct out of Shaolin and the Primal Rage from a Ting, but this has still been progress here for Hong Kong Attitude, and they are still just barely coming out the top of these trades because a lot of Blank members died with ultimates. Now Tongue gets to use his Coalescence, but Huss is already dead. He's not healing for the ideal members here. It's going to be the tanks from Blank that get kills, but as per usual, they still are.
Hit ups down, though. Things might go sour for Blank Esports if they don't convert any more kills right now. That's so important for Huwu actually being the one to come in.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that the tanks are still there, the presence is still there. Because if Ting died when he did, Shaolin was effectively solo tanking Blank. Read that if they could de-mech him, really the only thing left was a bunch of squishies. Certainly nobody that could contest Huwu.
And now 1 minute less, in fact less than 1 minute remaining for Hong Kong Attitude's offense here. The card is in a position where even if Hong Kong Attitude win this next engagement, there will be a second defense for Blank onto B. They can still stall this. Blank can still complete the B hold if they just come back in time, which is going to be fairly easy for them to do.
Yeah, behold indeed. Certainly Hong Kong Attitude will be beholden to that time on the clock. Oh my, what a pick on Mui, and such clutch timing as well. Hong Kong Attitude, they have to wait for that respawn, and that means Huss can get set up to EMP first.
And that's even important now. Blank Esports get their opening position. Look at where they're standing, the high ground. Huss specifically on the high ground with the invis. They can pick and choose where they will EMP, and also Hong Kong Attitude need to get to the cart. There's objective pressure here as well. Blank can start a fight away from the cart, and Hong Kong Attitude can't even take that fight.
Forcing Hong Kong Attitude's hand here is what Blank need to do. They need to put the pressure on, but that EMP didn't quite catch Mu, which means he's get the counter EMP in. They've already converted the DPS, and it's going to be the other members of Blank who have to hold on for now, and they can't because they're hacked out. Huwu going to buy some crucial time. It does also pick off Mui. May even be able to get a self-destruct here to stall out for his co-tank. No such luck, but that did buy time for Blank to respawn for one last try.
Yeah, they need some members, though, because Hong Kong Attitude still have a lot of players here. 5, in fact. Blank got to rush to this point. They got to get there in time, but they might not.
Oh, Huss just barely on, but he's going to have to duck straight back
Laser
out.
beams.
Yeah, Tongue in. Yeah, beam battle indeed, and Tongue is the one who loses.
Oh, the cap.
Yeah, that's technically a cap through as well. It's still contested, but Blank aren't winning this one anymore, which means these ultimates have unfortunately just gone straight down the tubes. Hong Kong Attitude taking the momentum now.
The momentum becoming so big for Hong Kong Attitude. Notice how much distance they can get off the snowball play as well. Blank Esports still trying to respawn, still trying to regroup here. Hong Kong Esports still pushing, and all this distance will count.
That is just one slight misstep from Blank, not having someone on the cart for that brief fraction of a second. You almost maybe wish you hadn't contested all of your Blank, but that's in the past. What's important now is that they find a way to stabilize on this defense here. Shaolin in with the self-destruct, creates space for the team to get on the aggressive here. And Huss, you saw him hacked and zoned out. Mui able to follow up on that one. Can start getting the wraparound now as the flankers taking out the backliners here of Blank. The scrum on the payload is slipping the way of Hong Kong Attitude, especially now with Trill dying to McCulty's pulse bomb. Who we're going to lose the mech? They're still going, Hong Kong Attitude.
The problem is Hong Kong Attitude had to ult to get past that line, had to ult to just win that fight, which means for Blank, they can take this next defense while there is not enough time remaining, use their own backed up ultimates to try and find this victory. Hong Kong Attitude, though, getting close to a couple of those support ultimates. Mui's EMP here has to be the biggest EMP ever.
Oh, good connect onto AU up. That's going to really hurt his ability to duck and weave in and out of this, and he went straight off the edge as that happened as well, so he can't retreat, goes down. Hong Kong Attitude using what little they've got to keep momentum on their side. Coalescence matched by Mango Jai. It's the Beam Wars, self-destruct from Huwu. No spicy 5k here, only Shinin's mech, but that might just be enough. There's nothing left in the tank here for Hong Kong Attitude. This is where Blank of the respawns coming in. They're getting the picks to mad shit. They've got Trill still with the Primal Rage to disrupt these backliners. EMP on the payload from Huss to secure these last few members that were there still contesting. That is an uncomfortably long distance for how good Blank's B-hold was, but they do still stop the cap.
And you can see as soon as Hong Kong Attitude were able to get that B cap as well, how quickly they rolled on through, how quickly they took advantage of the fact that Blank were on the back foot. They were trying to fall back, still losing members, couldn't even regroup in time. Blank, they're good when it's structured gameplay, but when it's unstructured, when it's chaotic, it's Hong Kong Attitude coming out the better of that, finding the better picks, finding the better opportunity windows, and only at the end there when it looked like it might not have even been a Blank full hold onto C after doing so well to be, like you mentioned there, for Blank, Trill coming in with the Primal Rage, able to knock so many members away, giving time for Huss to come in with a game-securing EMP, a defense-securing EMP. That's what was enough for Blank.
Yeah, when they could finally slow the game back down from that point, they were able to restabilize on the defense. The other side of that as well is that fight win on B and then capping out the point as well. It kind of kick-started something in Hong Kong Attitude. It kick-started that more aggressive play style we've been seeing from them. Unfortunately, it did get then stopped up just a little bit beyond that, but I want to see them once again go back to that, go back to it more crucially on this defense where it worked for them so well in their quarterfinal.
I think for Hong Kong Attitude as well, playing the Sombra, playing Mui onto the Sombra, his most played hero so far this season, that's got to be the right thing for this team to be able to approach against Blank Esports, who themselves have been playing a lot of Sombra, currently still playing a lot of Sombra. Mui matching and potentially overtaking Huss is how Hong Kong Attitude can beat Blank Esports. But if they keep wanting to play other compositions, put Mui onto other things, that's when they get slowed down.
Don't be fooled. This won't really be Trill on Widowmaker. This is just Blank having fun in the spawn room, I believe. Should see the change off before long. Yeah, there we go. For a minute, I was like, but what if I'm wrong?
Because we looked at that mega composition and we thought,
Yeah, yeah, right, but
anyway.
This is where we need to see Hong Kong Attitude, like we've been saying. Kick it up, get aggressive with the defense. Blank sort of getting into the choke point, but here we go. Here's Hong Kong Attitude going for it, but Blank are kind of ready for this. They're backing off. They're trying to force Hong Kong Attitude to overextend, but Hong Kong Attitude not going to fall for it, are going to pull back themselves. Now it's Blank trying to look for a dive.
But this time around, Hong Kong Attitude can't just go back in. They've already used movement abilities to engage upon Blank Esports. If there's enough gap in time here, Hong Kong Attitude can strike again. It looks like Blank are ready for it. It looks like Blank are even waiting for it, inviting Hong Kong Attitude to try.
Yeah, this is very smart. Blank saw that same quarterfinal. They know what Hong Kong Attitude want to do. And now the Hong Kong Attitude haven't done it, Blank are going to get the dive. They're going to get the aggression. The counter dive, though, so far for Hong Kong Attitude has been decent. Losing the tank is costly. But Blank are in this with those supports. Yeah, hacked out, but Trill's still low. He still goes down. Huss and I Eat You Up kind of have to do all the work now. Who does at least get to reset and preserve the mech here, but Hong Kong Attitude still decent presence on the point. Unfortunately, McCulty's pulse bomb wide, and the Huss EMP does go down. There's still presence on the point here for Hong Kong Attitude. Blank are getting these respawners in. I think it may be enough purely because of that.
And the distance for Blank should be what pushes this point over for them, allows them to get that cap. In fact, they should be able to get at least a 1/3 here. Hong Kong Attitude, if they re-enter in time, they can force additional ults here. If they can get a Transcendence, get a sound barrier, it'll be worth it.
They've certainly got the tools to do it, right? First, this Primal Rage has drawn out, like you said, that Transcendence. Now self-destruct, zones these members out. Unfortunately, though, Shylin doesn't get to remech. CQB may want a sound barrier here. No, they're going to stop committing in for the rest of this fight. They've recognized that it is over. A team going to look to pull out. He's probably not going to get out with his life. No, will end up going down at the end there. Unfortunately, so does Mango Chai. Hong Kong Attitude, they drew out a couple more ultimates from Blank there, and that's really what they were looking for.
And that definitely succeeded in that regard as well. Kura smartly held onto the sound barrier. You could see he was very pressured. Hong Kong Attitude had the game plan. We got the Transcendence. Let's get the sound barrier as well. Blank said, no, we're going to win this one. Keep the sound barrier into the pocket because we're going to need it for the next fight.
Still had to commit the Primal Rage, though. Fortunately, Hong Kong Attitude also committing their self-destruct. So now I think a lot of it going to come down to this EMP flip-flop. That's a good hack on Shaolin, though. Should be able to follow him up. No, there's going to be a coalescence from Mango Jai. Keep the tanks topped off. This is now an opportunity for Hong Kong Attitude to get aggressive, take the ground that they had lost with how that ACAP ultimately went through for Blank. These are the picks they sorely need to get on the payload.
And Hong Kong should ultimately get back onto the defense of the cart as well. Don't allow Blank to get free push in. We've seen these get a bunch of kills in the past. This time not going to be the case. Hong Kong should a sigh of relief as they re-enter the point.
Yeah, what it did give Blank, though, was just a touch of space to get on the cart in their own right, and that puts the pressure on Hong Kong Attitude to find a window in to fight successfully and start stopping the cart. Blank got a bit of progress off that. That's what they were needing, but here's that EMP that Mui's been holding on to. Huss should be able to counter EMP here, though. Hong Kong Attitude, despite the dive, kind of got a little bit red, kind of got a bit split apart, and now Huss's EMP going to try and use that to close out the fight. Going to be very successful to that end. Payloads still are rolling.
You need to see a lot more kills come out of Hong Kong Attitude. The coordination wasn't there. Notice that Mui was trying to shoot down Kura, but the rest of his team was trying to go for other targets. You didn't have the 6 members of Hong Kong Attitude, or however many were left alive, all try and focus the same targets to collect those kills. Blank Esports, they punish that. Huss, counter EMP.
This is where time is really on Blank's side. By this point on their defense, they'd managed to slow down Hong Kong Attitude a whole lot more and even stop them up altogether. This is a very all-in fight from Hong Kong Attitude. Both support ultimates already committed in it to win it here. They have got some kills through, but never count out Blank's tank. Shaolin wide on the self-destruct does create space, but the payload's been moving this whole time. That's the objective Hong Kong Attitude need to fight for, and now as they try and barrel in for that, they're actually a little bit disconnected. You saw McCulty already died earlier. Now Mango Jai as well dead. The tanks are just kind of stalling here. They do get the conversion on Trill, looking like they should be able to get Who will be able to get out of this. But again, that's where time was on Blank's side. They got progress. Now this is 2 minutes that Hong Kong Attitude have to hold B for.
But Huss has to live here. Thankfully he does if you're a Blank Esports fan, because Blank now get to come in. EMP should happen before Mui gets his one up. Very important for Huss to also include Mui into this EMP play if he can shut down the counter EMP play, because so far the counter EMPs have been even more impactful than the original EMPs.
McCulty able to get the wraparound there, doesn't quite get the connect on the pulse bomb. Hoo-woo if he can get the self-destruct up nice and quick. There we go, and the EMP out from Huss. The counter EMP, Mui had already committed his long since. The fight went as well to boot, and this is so often we're seeing Huss able to get the counter EMP out, getting his off second and crucially Blank not dying to Mui's earlier EMP. That's the real crux. That doesn't matter if you get the second EMP, if half your team is already dead.
This fight does continue, though, at least for the time being. It's going to be Mango Joe, the Coalescence, forcing out the self-destruct from Hulu. Doesn't quite get the cap off it. But no, they do.
Yeah, they've got that through, and that means that that ultimate out of Shaolin there just kind of goes to the wind. Hong Kong Attitude know that they can't commit anything else. But Blank, they know that they can move forward. They can take this space. This is effectively free. Even getting delayed kills on McCulty, they're doing to Hong Kong Attitude what Hong Kong Attitude just did to them.
And Hong Kong Attitude are not playing this in the overtime scenario as well. They did not force Blank into the overtime for that B camp. Blank have some time to play with, so and they don't even need to push until the final C camp. Just before the end of the map is where they got to go, and it's not a lot of distance, and they should have the time to do it.
Exactly. Like I said earlier, time is on Blank's side. But so the ultimates. Right now, so is the positioning. That stick onto a Ting forced out a Primal Rage when they didn't really want to have to commit it yet. Now Trill getting a lot more mileage out of his. McCulty does get one trade back, but the EMP from Huss, again, stands to be a win condition in spite of the sound barrier from CQB. Mui dead, just shy of his EMP. It does mean they'll get it later in the fight, but by that point, Hong Kong Attitude are going to be
nearly there.
To the point Shailen's hacked out, can't reset the mech, can't buy time with the self-destruct. He's going to go down. Sound barrier for, oh, hack from Mui, EMP, that's a big one. They sorely need that to stabilize, but with the Ting dead, there's no one there to tank for the DPSs, and the DPSs, they're having a hard enough time getting the kills. There's still no one answering all the dive, all the pressure from Blank, no counter trades, no nothing, and now Blank take it to match point.
This is now becoming such a good series for Blank Esports and Hong Kong Attitude. You got to start asking what is going wrong for this team. It doesn't appear like they can match Blank, at least not on these first two maps. A 2-0. This is already a very quick series. Blank onto that match point. Can Hong Kong Attitude even respond in time?
And this is looking a little tough because we saw Hong Kong Attitude actually revisit that strategy of the aggressive defense, but Blank had done their homework. They were ready for it. They pulled back, they reacted. Hong Kong Attitude was smart to not overextend. But the important thing is that their strategy had failed. What had worked for them in the past in that quarterfinal so decisively against Xavier Esports did not work here against Blank. And truly that is currently the difference in caliber between Xavier and Blank here. Hong Kong Attitude very much feeling the sore end of that.
You also have to look at the difference between those B points, right? Because those were the deciding points, I think, for this matchup. And when you look at what happened there, it was Mui and the rest of his team with Hong Kong Attitude, unfortunately not quite capping out the B until we got into the overtime. Also with a pretty big mistake, I'll admit, from Blank's side of letting that card go. They could have possibly have held on to that B point. Didn't quite happen. The stabilization for Blank on their B defense in the middle section while there was time remaining, so important for the team to then force that overtime, to then make Hong Kong Attitude play C into another overtime. That just didn't happen for Blank Esports when they were the ones attacking.
That was, I mean, incredible to say the least. And it's close in one sense, but at the same time, it's twice now where Blank have been well ahead enough. First time, of course, being on Ilios, now having it on Hollywood, it's put them to 2-0. And I mean, that means that there's very much this real threat of the 3-0. That being said, though, we now do go to Assault. We also crucially get that halftime break where Hong Kong Attitude can look at this, look at what's working, look at what's not, look at what they want to make work that hasn't worked, and figure out how to get it to work. And
exactly.
When I say that, I mean that aggression.
Yeah, because Hong Kong Attitude are now staring down the barrel of a potential 3-0 victory for Blank Esports. We didn't think either of these matches were going to be straight 3-0s. Maybe you could say Detonator Korea versus Mega was more likely to be 3-0, and that definitely came to pass. But for this match, already being at 2-0, Hong Kong Attitude already look like they're somewhat faltering here. They need this break to come back strong. If not, this is going to be a whitewash.
It's funny, isn't it? Because like we couldn't call who would win this one, but the most unexpected result would be a 3-0. It feels kind of weird to say that. I mean, most of the time when you talk about an unexpected result, it's when the team that should 3-0, you know, drops maps or gets reverse swept or loses, you know, outright in an 0-3 situation. It tends to not be, you know, because two evenly matched teams suddenly when they come head to head are not so evenly matched as you thought, but currently that is where the series sits. It is that 2-0. And I mean, Blank have definitely lost assaults in the past. They've definitely won assaults in the past, but I don't know that this is quite so even anymore, because we've also seen Hong Kong Attitude actually struggle quite a bit on assaults in their own right across this season.
And we'll have to see, you know, if Blank can actually come back in there as well. They need, when I say that, I mean come back in the way where they can clean up the series and make sure that they can collect it 3-0, because I think that's what they are wanting to do right here as well. You certainly don't want to be the team to be the victim of it being reverse sweep, and we're going to have to find out exactly who comes out on top. Will it be Hong Kong Attitude with the reverse sweep, or Blank Esports collecting that 3-0? Find out after the break.